And welcome back to Sin and Finn, the Dugout Decision Show.
Yes, there is absolutely nothing going on in the
Nope.
offseason right now, and we don't really know what to talk about. So we delved into the listener questions to see if you guys could fill up an episode with a bunch of listener questions. And we got like 9 or 10, which is amazing. So thank you to everyone on Instagram or YouTube who submitted a question, and we're super excited to talk about these. I think pitchers and catchers, we talked about this off air, report in what, 11 days, which seems pretty crazy.
Yeah, and we said, remember when we finished the World Series, like, well, we skipped the month of October, right?
Yeah.
That we didn't have to go through that. We had baseball the whole time. It's still feeling like a long off season, eh? We've had to go all the way through November, December, January. We're here. It's the last day of January when we're recording this. Like you said, WBC coming up as well. Canada's going to be playing soon. So,
Puerto
yeah, why don't,
Rico may not. Like that is a
yeah,
situation, but this is the Jays
interesting.
podcast, so we don't talk about
Absolutely. So we're going to focus on Jays in Canada, but you're right. Spring training is coming up soon. So why not, with that coming up? And again, with still nothing to talk about, why don't we get into our listener questions? First one coming from YouTube. Shout out to Winter
that.
Redstone who came out with a question here. And it goes, say if our lineup doesn't work out, and this is with guys like Springer, new guy Okamoto, Barger, Clement, Santander. He says all these guys are question marks. How screwed are we, and how do we get out of it if they don't pan out?
Oh. First of all, thank you, Winter Redstone, for submitting
Thank
the
you.
question. That's a heck of a username. But man, so if some of the guys don't perform, like last year, Anthony Santander did not perform. Who
Nope.
stepped up? Addison Barger. But here's a lot of guys. So George Springer is 37 years old. Could he regress? It's very possible. So if George Springer doesn't do as good, you need someone else to step up. You need an Anthony Santander to have a fully healthy season. And then but the list of guys you mentioned, Springer, Okamoto, Barger, Clement, and Santander, you can't afford
Yeah.
for all of these guys
Oh,
to regress, especially
no.
with the loss of Bo Bichette. You need at least a few of these guys to step up. You need
Yeah.
Anthony Santander to hit a few homers. You need a full season for Madison Barger. You need Kazuma Okamoto to make an impact right out of the gate. And and I was thinking, do Japanese players start off slow in MLB? Does it take a few months for them to pick up pace and be who they are? And I pulled up Seiya Suzuki as a good example because he was a highly touted hitter from Japan. And in the month of April, he hit quite well. He hit 279 out of the gate, which is great. If we get that from Okamoto in the first month,
Yeah.
I'll be very happy. But man, you need some of these guys to outperform what their expected stats are and not underperform them. So if Springer, Okamoto, Barger, Clement, and Santander are all bad,
Yeah.
we may be looking at the 2024 Toronto Blue Jays again. I hate to say it.
Yeah, I don't think we want to do that again. I like how you bring
No.
up the Japanese thing though, because some other player I looked at, and I think I wrote an article about this actually, was Yoshi Tsutsugo. And I don't know why that came to mind, but it's like a Japanese guy, a hitter.
Ugh.
Say as a good mention, but of course, who's the one we think of? Otani, right? Obviously, it's Otani. But then I'm like, that's a guy. It didn't work, but he had really good numbers in Japan. I'm not saying it right now that he's going to be Yoshi Tsutsugo. Okamoto is no, but yes, like you said, the Seiya thing, Seiya's turned out into a pretty good player for the Cubs, right? Been an all-star, I think, already. If he turns into that, that's great. You're right, though. We're gonna turn into 2024 Jays again. If everyone, like, how can everyone be bad? So you're saying that Vlad's the only good player. That's what 2024 was. He had like a
Well,
950 OPS.
even 2023, we upgraded our
Yeah.
rotation, upgraded our bullpen significantly this offseason. But if our lineup is garbage like it was in 2023, we got Brandon Belt out there. Like it's
Dude,
maybe
we
first round
can't.
exit, even if we get into the playoffs. So you need a lot of, well, not bounce backs because they had a really good season last year, but a lot of consistent performers, even guys who outperform their expected stats.
And here's the last thing I'll say on that. There could be some regression, right? We saw from 22 to 23, someone like Alejandro Kirk, he regressed. George Springer, he regressed. A lot of guys did. What's the difference now and why that's, at least we hope, not going to happen? It's a guy named David Popkins, right? That guy came in here, the entire hitting philosophy changed. And what do you know? The guys could hit again. They somehow figured it out. So I don't see how the entire lineup is going to collapse again when you have that guy that was brought in and he essentially made the magic in the lineup, right? 2025. I don't think that's going to happen. And you're right. If it does, we're going back to the 2024 Blue Jays. So I don't think that's going to happen. And let's just not hope for that. Now
Yeah.
let's go to the second question here. This is from your guy, Jake Bowman. He says, which free agent signing are you most excited to watch? Who are you looking forward to this year?
Shout out Jake. It's a great question here. And there's a lot of guys you could choose from. Cody Ponce, who knows what he'll be
Yeah.
like? Is he going to be great? Is he going to be a 2, 3 war guy, a great fifth starter? Like maybe. Is it Tyler Rogers who can throw from the ground like that?
Yeah.
That's mine, I think. Just because
Okay.
he's gonna be such a fun watch. I think it was Johnny from Day 14 on Twitter posted, hey, last year opening day we had Jacob Barnes, now we have Tyler Rogers. Tyler Rogers is gonna be a lot of fun. He's very consistent. I think it's got to be Tyler Rogers for me, man.
I think the cop out answer is Okamoto, right? Because that's the intriguing one. He's coming over
Yeah.
from Japan. I think it's first Japanese player since Kawasaki. Remember how electric that guy was, right? So I think he's going to be great. Maybe not the same personality, but as a player, he should be great.
Sean
But
Yamaguchi.
okay, never mind. Okay, I forgot about him. And oh, wait a minute, Kikuchi. I'm forgetting. I think as
Kikuchi.
well. There you go. So okay, a little off there, but still, Kawasaki was the best personality wise.
Yeah.
I think that's the easy answer. And you're right. I don't want to go with that. I think for me, it's between Dylan Cease and Tyler Rogers. We've talked endlessly about the upside with Cease. We've said it endlessly. He's
Yeah.
had some
Yeah.
bad years. Yes, he's had the ERA creep up to 5 almost. That's not great. But the guy throws almost 100 miles an hour as a starter. Think right now, when have we seen a starter for the Jays throw 100 miles an hour? Like Robbie Rays was not doing that. When Gosman is on, yeah, you can see some 97, 98s, but that's rare. You really don't see that. And then you'll have a Yankee start in the end of April and he's throwing like 89. So we just don't get that consistently. The velo, I think that's going to be exciting. I want Gosman. I'll say this right now. I want Gosman to get the opening day start. I can't believe he hasn't gotten it in the 4 or 5 years
That's
he's
pretty
already been
crazy.
here.
Wow. That's
It's supposedly
crazy.
Barrios like every other year, and then it was Manoa that one time, and that we know how that went. But Gosman hasn't gotten it. I hope he gets it, and then I think Cease is the next guy up. And the first time we get to see him at Rogers Center pumping 100 miles an hour, I think that's my guy. Wipeout, slider, curveball, whatever he has. I can't wait to see him pitch.
I think that's a very fair answer. I feel bad. I kind of forgot about Dylan Cease because it just feels like so long ago. What was it?
I
Early
know.
October he signed,
No, like closer
and
to end of November, but still, that's early for us. That's early
yeah,
for us getting
no,
a guy.
early October it was the World Series. What am I talking about?
Yeah,
But Dylan Cease is going to be amazing, and we got the nerds out in the Blue Jays R&D um, part of the analytics program who are nerding out on Dylan Cease right now and what he can change to his arsenal. So I think he'll be super interesting to see if he ditches that curveball or adds like or makes his changeup harder because his changeup was like 68 miles per hour. It was like an eephus. So
yeah,
if he makes his changeup harder, things like that, and he could be really exciting and perform really well when you look at his end of season stats. And then Okamoto, of course, I think he's going to be. He just declared for the WBC with Japan, so
yep,
I think that'll be very interesting as well. I'll definitely be tuned into all the Japan games, and
yeah.
he could easily be a fan favorite if he just comes out
Oh
and
yeah.
matches. And this is what one of the later questions talks about. But could he replace Bo's production? I won't answer that because we'll save it, but it'll be very interesting what he does and how he fits into that locker room.
Absolutely. Let's go to our next one now. This next one comes from Tristan Morgan. Shout out my guy, writes for Blue Jays Nation, actually. Check out some of his articles if you haven't already. He says, who do you think leads the team in home runs in 2026? Can it be George Springer repeating? It's crazy to think that George Springer led the team with 32. Is he going to do that again? What do you think?
No, I think there is no shot George Springer repeats what he did in 2025. Like that was pretty insane, pretty historic. I was listening to Rates and Barrels talking about George Springer and his fantasy projections for next year. Like it's very rare that a 37-year-old
Yeah.
would do what he did last year. So I don't think so. I'm not going to say Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Okay. I
Okay.
know you predicted him to win MVP with
Yep.
what 40, 50 home runs,
Yep.
but hey, Dalton Varsho, his production in
Whoa.
very few games last year was great. His production
Yeah.
was great. So if we get a full year of Dalton Varsho hitting 467 feet tanks like
Yeah.
he did at Coors Field. I think that's an interesting one. Addison Barger, if
Yeah.
he dials in like he did in October for a full season, that could be very interesting. And then obviously Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the obvious and boring answer. But
I
if
know.
he, as we talked about with Joe Siddle, if he keeps that form, keeps what he did in the postseason, and that level of consistency, not only on the field, but also health-wise. He had a hamstring problem, I think it was, at the end of the year that,
Yeah.
hey, Vladdy had a great year before that hamstring injury. Like he was pretty
Oh
awesome,
yeah.
near a 1 OPS, I believe, like 900, 950. And then he hurt his hamstring and forgot how to hit baseball. So if we see a full year of consistency health-wise, consistency batting-wise, um, that could be very interesting. I'm going to go with Dalton Varsho. Kind of crazy
Okay.
contract year. We'll see.
Yeah. That's the other thing. You're right. Yeah, contract years. He just gonna go off. It's the health thing though with him, right? Like he just hasn't really stayed healthy. And when he has, I think the most he ever had in a season was 27 with the D-backs before he came to us. I think that's the number, 2022. It's just been like 20, 18, like 16. Like that's what we're getting out of him. He has the power. I mean, the guy's jacked. You would think he should be able to do it. With Vlad, though, okay, I'm not. You're right. I'm not going to go with the easy one. Although I think, yeah, he should get 40 home runs and he should be the leader easily. I like the Barger pick though. With Vlad, we do need to see a little more pop because there is a consistent decline. We're going 48, 21. Then I think he goes 32 home runs. Then like 26, has a better year. Then down to 23. Like 23 home runs. That is not Vladimir Guerrero Jr. territory. Like we're looking at guys, Juan Soto, the Aaron Judges, the Otanis. I'm not saying Vlad needs to hit 60. Okay. We don't need to say that. But a catcher like Cal Raleigh, for example, why is he hitting 60? Vlad has 23. Like that's sort of middle of the pack numbers. I want to see Vlad at least get to 30,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
think full year of Addison Barger can do it. I remember his first year, 2024, he was trying to be like a slap hitter. He was hitting like 260, 270, trying to be a slap hitter. That's not
Don
Addison Barger.
Mattingly. Don
Yeah,
Mattingly right
that's his
there.
philosophy. And there you go. What happens? David Popkins comes in and he's hitting bombs. I think full season of Barger, because remember, he didn't start the year with the Jays last year, right? He started in
Yeah.
AAA. He came up later in the year.
It's crazy.
Full season of him, I'll take him hitting 250, 240 if he's putting up 35 tanks. And I think he can do it. And you know what? I think Addison Barger can make an all-star team in 2026.
Yeah, All-Star teams just are weird to me to project because if he
True.
does nothing in the first half but goes off in the second half, like his season stats are going to look good. But if he goes off in the first half, of course he's going to be an all-star. But if he just is garbage for the second half, like it's
Yeah.
an okay year from Madison Marger. So that's kind of weird. But yeah, if Vladdy can go crazy, get near 40, that would be amazing. And his comp really his whole career has been Albert Pujols, who was around 30,
Yeah.
35 home runs. Um,
Yeah.
if you can go there, that would be awesome. And going from what 23 last year to 30, 35 this year,
Yeah.
that makes up for some of the production loss in Bo Bichette. So very
Yeah.
interesting. Great question from Tristan. And it'll be interesting to look back on these questions and our answers at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's a good point because I don't want to say it, but there could be another decline with Vlad and he hits like 20, but then hey, maybe he gets like 12 home runs in the postseason and we win the World Series. So it's
Yeah.
funny how life works sometimes.
Yeah.
Let's go to
Varsho
the
gets
next
hurt in
one.
spring training or something, and it's just all for garbage.
Exactly. You never know how the
Yeah.
season's going to pan out, right? But let's go to our next one here from my guy Joe Kennedy here, coming in with two questions here. So we'll do a two-piece one here.
Do
First
it.
one is, will Jeff Hoffman be the closer by the end of the season? What do you say, Christian?
I think by the end of the year is a very key part of that question. Do the Blue Jays make a trade deadline move for a closer? I don't think so. Could it be a very impactful reliever? Yes. I just think taking a guy out of the closer role mid-season is pretty awkward. And when does that like
Yeah.
really pan out? Because they're married to that closer role. Atkins didn't say it in his press conference in the fall, but once a closer enters the season, as
Yeah.
a closer, and it's very hard to take him out of that
Oh yeah.
mindset. So I think it's pretty obvious that Jeff Hoffman will be the closer entering the year, which to me means that he'll be the closer at the end of the year. That's my take. Could the Blue Jays make a move, get like we did in 2023 with Jordan Hicks at the deadline? Jordan Hicks was a
Yeah.
very good acquisition, a setup man like that. So say Tyler Rogers gets hurt or Jimmy Garcia can't pitch in the year, and you need another bullpen arm. I think that could be a possibility, but I think Jeff Hoffman will bounce back. The velocity concerns hopefully will rebound, and he's a lot more consistent in 2026.
Jordan Hicks was part of that Devers trade, huh? And the guy throws like 90 miles an hour now when he's hurt. That's crazy in a couple of years how he went from throwing like 103 with us and now he's down to like 90.
If he
Crazy how
stayed as
that
a
turned out.
reliever and didn't turn into a starter, I'm sure he'd be pretty good. But the starter
Yeah.
stuff, all up.
And I remember, I think it was just last season, talking like end of August. I remember seeing it on the news, seeing headlines everywhere. Is Jeff Hoffman going to be the closer if the Jays make the playoffs? I remember seeing that last August. And you know what? He figured it out kind of in September because August was horrible. He had a lot of bad months last year. A couple of months with ERAs over like 10, blew like 8 games or 8 saves.
Yeah.
It's really up and down with Jeff Hoffman. I'm going to go with a sneaky one, though. I think full season of Louis Varland can turn into that guy because we talked about with the starters, we now have a guy in Dylan Cease that can throw 100. When I was at game one of the ALDS and Varland's pumping 101 by Giancarlo Stanton right down the middle, and the guy couldn't even catch up to it, I think that will play. The guy is a workhorse. I've joked all offseason that he's still warming up in the pen. The guy pitched in every single game, and he was still throwing like 98 in every single game. I think you give it full season of Louis Varland if Jeff Hoffman's struggling. If we get to August and Jeff Hoffman has a 2.5 ERA, keep him. Keep him as the closer. Fine if he's performing well. If we have the same thing again where we're like early June, it's like, okay, we're going through this again with Jeff Hoffman. I think you might try it with Louis Varland. They're not going to turn him into a starter. How is he going to be a starter on this team? That doesn't make sense, maybe long term. So if he's going to be a reliever, don't you want a guy as a closer like a Yohan Duran, a Roldis Chapman, these guys that pump over 100 miles an hour? The only guy we have that does that is Louis Varland. So I think that might be a sneaky one. I think he could become
I
that.
kind of love it. I think that's a great answer. Do the Jays have the balls to start him? Like, do you think he's starting the season as the closer?
No, I think you definitely give it to Hoffman starting
Okay.
out, just like they did
Okay.
last year. If Hoffman's struggling by mid-May, maybe then you shift it to Varland.
I think that could be a possibility. I kind of love that. So
Yeah.
props on that answer. I thought it was just going to be, yeah, Jeff Hoffman's same closer, but no, that's super interesting.
And you know what? In my predictions video, I actually said that Jeff Hoffman would be an all-star and have like a 2.5 ERA. So this is a little
Whatever.
contradictory. But again, life is funny. So you know what? Louis Varland could have like a 1
That's
ERA and he's
funny.
the greatest reliever ever. Let's go to the next one though from Joe here. And he says, do the Jays benefit more from having Jimenez at shortstop defensively despite losing Bo? I think Jimenez has to be the shortstop, right? There's no question about it.
Joe, this is a great question. I think Andres Jimenez has a fantastic year.
Okay.
Seeing Platinum Glover Andres Jimenez at shortstop for a full year is
Yeah.
awesome. Like it's gonna be incredible. So you can definitely maximize his value at shortstop. It's like moving Dalton Varsho to center field when we had Kevin Kiermaier. It's like we want him in center field because Dalton Varsho is such a great fielder, and in center field will maximize his value. Like you can just run everywhere in center field. And shortstop, you got to be athletic to be a shortstop. Got to make all the plays. Second baseman, like you kind of move your more unathletic guy to second base because it's an easier position to be at. But man, yes, like Andres
Yeah.
Jimenez, if he has like 100 WRC plus this year, like just average, just be okay
I
hitting
know.
wise, and you'll be amazing for us. Like your fielding is going to be incredible. So. Yes, Joe, I think Andres Jimenez is going to be awesome to watch defensively. Now it's just offensively, do something for us. Hit us a few home runs like you did in that Mariners series, and we'll love that.
Yeah.
We'll take that.
Huge. Those were huge. I mean, his overall playoff numbers, I thought they would have been better. It was still like a sub 600 OPS. It's like, okay, he's the 9 hole hitter. Like, I don't think he's ever going to replicate his 2022 when he had like a 7 WAR, 850 OPS, 20 home runs. I don't know how he did that. That was one good year he had. Like you said, if we get like a 700 OPS, just make it 700. Is that too much to ask for? Like, just not a 550 or
I
something
hope
like
not.
that.
Yeah.
Something like that. There's no doubt, though, this guy is not just like one of the best defensive shortstops in the league. This is one of the best just defenders in the entire league. Easily, you put him at shortstop. Think about the infield defense we have going right now. Ernie Clement, I think, should have won a gold glove at the util position. Guy plays
Yeah.
everywhere and he's incredible everywhere. Vlad's not too shabby for a big guy over at first base.
No.
And I guess you're going to see like a platoon of like Barger or Okamoto at third. It's not going to be great. It's not going to be like Matt Chapman in years past. It's not going to be that, but I think that'll be okay. It'll be at least sound defensively. The defense, though, from short to first, I really like how that's shaping out with Jimenez, Ernie, and Vlad.
100%. And a big part of defense in professional baseball is up the middle defense. We're talking about center field, second, short, catcher. Man, the Jays got like one of the best up the middle defenses in professional
Yeah.
baseball. Like Andres Jimenez, Ernie, whether he slots at third or second, we don't
Yeah.
know. But Dalton Varsho out in center if you can stay healthy. Like this is a great up the middle defense, and even the rest of the defense is quite good. And
Yeah.
a few episodes back, I talked about, I think it was quite a few episodes back, I talked about Andres Jimenez's health and how
Yeah.
losing his legs, just like Dalton Varsho at the end of the year, impacted his hitting. Like, I don't think he used a leg kick for the majority of the second half of the year,
Mm.
and that showed a lot in his offensive production. Like it just wasn't there. But then
Yeah.
it was near the playoffs. He's like, okay, I have my feet back. Like I can do that leg kick. I can generate power from my legs and he started hitting. Like
Yeah.
he didn't keep his foot on the ground. He did his leg kick. He started hitting again. If we can see a healthy Andres Menez in 2026, not only is that like good for his hitting, it's good for his base running. Like this was a
Oh yeah.
guy who, if you can remember, early 2025, he had like 15 to 10, 15 stolen bases by May or June. Like
Yeah.
we're like this guy is a legit
Hmm.
base stealer, a legit base runner, and then he got hurt and we really didn't see that the rest of the season. Same with Dalton Varsho. He really didn't run at the end of the year at all, and we're just kind of a
Oh,
older, slower team. So a healthy Andres Menez would be huge as well, and he's a critical piece of this Toronto Blue Jays team.
I think easy. He has to lead the team in stolen bases next year. I think it was Springer last year too that led with like 18. I don't think he's doing
That's
that again.
crazy.
Remember we had Bo and Bo was almost like a 30-30 guy and then I don't know what happened to his legs. He stole like two bases last year. I don't know what was going on with that. But Jimenez has to be the guy. What other guy's going to steal over like 10 bases next year? I can't think of anyone. Anthony
Dalton
Santander's not
Varsho,
doing that.
Dalton Varsho could get up there if he like
Stays
fully
healthy.
had his
Yeah.
legs back. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's about
So we'll
it.
see how his how Andres Mena's season plays out. But thanks to Joe for those two questions there.
Yep.
Let's go to our buddy Tyler Clement here, who has two questions. First one goes, where should guys like Nathan Lucas, Miles Straw, and Davis Schneider be utilized?
Excellent question here. At the moment, it is very confusing to find a spot for Nathan Lucas. He's a guy who hit in the two hole in the whole postseason, like platooned with Davis Schneider a few times. Shout out Blake Snell for Davis Schneider's home run in that World Series game. But Nathan Lucas, what is your role right now? I'm not sure. And
I don't
that'll be
know.
figured out in the next few weeks. There's been a lot of talk about a potential trade coming for the Blue Jays because there's a lot of fringe guys. There's a lot of Lucas, Straw, Schneider. Is RJ Schreck going to be something? Hendrik Pinango.
Yeah.
And then like Jonathan Clase, Joey Loperfido,
Your guy.
like that he hit super well last year, but just so many different guys where you're like, what is their role in 2026? And for Nathan Lucas, I don't know. For Miles Straw, I think he's a good fourth or fifth outfielder. Is he your
Yeah.
number one pinch hitting option? I hope not. I hope not.
Oh,
That was the case in 2025 a few times where late in the game, it's Tyler Heineman or something like that, and you don't want Tyler Heineman hitting. I think his numbers were fine last year. Like Tyler Heineman hit
oh
300 or
yeah.
something
Oh,
like that.
100%.
But
Yeah.
you don't want Tyler Heineman hitting, so you put in Miles
No.
Straw because of the platoon advantage. Say it's against the lefty, and like you don't want to do that. So that's why
No.
you got Okamoto. If Okamoto is on the bench, you can bring Okamoto in instead of a Straw. So I think he's a good fourth or fifth outfielder option, and not your number one pinch hitting option. Then Davis Schneider. Um, I was watching a good Chris Black thread on Twitter. If any of you
Oh
guys
yeah.
know Chris Black, he's a producer for Sportsnet, makes great analytical threads, and talked about Davis Schneider's knowledge for the strike zone and how he could be a like a really good player like he was around his debut to the majors in 2026 because of ABS. Like there were a lot of calls against
Mhm.
Davis Schneider that were wrong. That because of his stature, he's a smaller guy. Were called strikes that weren't strikes, and he has a great knowledge for the strike zone. So Does he use that to his advantage in 2026? We'll
Mm.
find out. What is his role currently? A guy who can play second, can play left, can hit lefties. It's a bit redundant. I talked about in the Okamoto, the Big Oak episode,
Yeah.
but I do think David Schneider has a role, and it's hard to say now because there's no injuries, there's no, it's not end of spring training, and you're like for sure David Schneider is going to be on the roster, but I do think right now David Schneider is on the roster, and you find a good mix between Straw and Schneider. For Lucas, I don't know. It's been interesting.
I wonder, you mentioned the Okamoto thing with the nickname. Like, is it going to be the Young General? Is it going to be the Big Oak? I wonder what we're going to be rolling with. I like anything, honestly, whatever they come up with. With these guys, though, I like how you mentioned that all these guys had their roles. Think of David Schneider. You mentioned the home run versus Blake Snell. Electric starting that game. Vlad goes back to back. Nathan Lucas, the single versus Devin Williams, right, to secure game four for us, beat the Yankees in the DS. Miles Straw
Yeah,
had a little fluky single, I think, in that game as well. I think it was like 60 off the bat, and he fluked one into right field, got an RBI. And never forget his 2 home run game against the Rangers in August as well. That was a legacy moment as well. All these guys somehow contributed in a way that was obviously productive for the Jays. They had their signature moments. Tyler Heineman had his walk off against the Astros. Remember in like mid September, like all these guys contributed. Again, we talked endlessly how it was a team effort. But you're right, that was a fun story. It was a Cinderella story. Are we really going to get those kinds of performances from these guys again? Like, I don't want to say Miles Straw is like our new Bradley Zimmer type, but like it kind of is. Like he's a little bit better of a hitter, but still, you're not getting much out of the stick. I think he's perfect, like you said, as a late defensive replacement. Keep him. David Schneider, I like him off the bench. Face the lefties, good. If Anthony Santander is good, I don't see how Nathan Lucas plays on this team. He'll be, I think, 32 already. Like it's crazy to think how old
yeah.
Nathan Lucas is. So how much are you really going to get for him? I don't know because he's an older guy, but hey, he was productive last year. I think if you go into the season and Santander's performing well, maybe your guy Loperfito's performing well in AAA and he's the next option. If you have all those guys that are performing well, I think Nathan Lucas is gone and you just see what you can get for him. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be interesting. I think that's a good question. These are a lot of fringe guys,
Yeah.
and I like that you brought up Anthony Santander's role in when talking about Nathan Lucas, because Santander should be the everyday left fielder. If everything goes well, if he uh, like is healthy in spring training, all signs are good. I
Yeah.
think Santander should be the everyday left fielder. And then you don't know where that leaves Nathan
Yeah.
Lucas. So this should all be sorted out. There's way too many fringe guys. It's a good
Yeah.
problem. So what do we acquire in a trade? Um, I don't know. I think that two hole, I keep talking about it. That two hole in the lineup is not solved yet. Like could be an Addison Barger against a righty, and then against the lefty, it's Okamoto in that two hole. Could be that, or you get an everyday two hole hitter. So so I don't know, but I think a trade's got to happen in the next few weeks, and we keep saying that, but
Yeah.
there's way too many different options that don't have a clear role yet in 2026.
Yeah, totally. And we'll go to Tyler's second question here. I
Yeah,
want your quick, immediate reaction to this one because this is a bold one here. What are your thoughts in the Jays bullpen? And do they still need to change anything? Are you okay with the Jays bullpen the way it is right now?
100%. I think
Okay.
that a lot of hate went on to Brendan Little, and he's kind of
Yeah.
a troll now for Blue Jays fans.
Yeah.
Shout out Aiden for that.
Yeah.
But Brendan Little was pretty sick in like the first half of 2025. He was sick. We used him way
Yeah.
too much.
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
well, what he pitched in like close to 80 games. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy stuff. So his stuff was just nothing. Like his fastball lost a
Yeah.
few ticks, his movement lost a few ticks. He was like the
Yeah.
whips leader in all of baseball, so swing and miss leader. Um, like for 2 months, the first 2 months of the season, he was one of the best relievers in baseball. And a lot of guys are talking about, hey, Danny Coulombe's still out in the market. Let's go get another lefty. I think you're good with Brendan Little. And then the other lefty, Mason Fluharty. Could he be good in 2026? I think so. And then if he isn't, hey, Ricky
Yeah.
T could be a key
We'll get to
part.
that. Yep.
We will get in that. We will get into that. But I won't talk about the lefties anymore. But then the rest of the bullpen, like Tyler Rogers, great. I love having a guy who can just come to any role, has a rubber arm. Like he's a Simber, come in, produce consistently. And then Jimmy Garcia, I have no clue what Jimmy's gonna give
I
us.
don't know, dude.
Like had elbow reconstruction surgery, I
Yeah,
think, so it wasn't a full Tommy John. Um, but if you can be like solid, like Jimmy was pretty sick. He had a rough
yeah,
stretch there in 2025, but if Jimmy can come back and do something, that would be more than great. And then obviously Louis Varland is a very
yeah,
valuable reliever, and Braden Fisher, he's awesome. He's one of my favorite players on the Blue
yeah.
Jays. Like just sick when he's amped up. I love it when he's all amped up. And then Jeff Hoffman's a big question mark, but I feel good with this Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. It's a whole lot better than 2025, and I don't think they need to make any more moves before the season.
Okay, Jimmy Garcia is not going to listen to this podcast. At least I don't think so. But if he were, what I would say to him right now is don't go into spring training throwing 98 miles an hour. I swear he does this every single year. Tries to throw as hard as he can. When you have guys, remember like Chris Bassett will come into spring training. He's throwing 82. He's throwing 84 because he just knows that he'll be ready for the season and he'll be throwing 95 again. Jimmy keeps doing that and then he keeps getting hurt. And I've heard this. The pitching coaches even talk about it. Go in there, talk to him, and say, all right, we're okay with 92 the first week of February. Work into it. The problem with the Jays bullpen, and here's the thing, you can say this for every bullpen, is there's a lot of ifs, right? Can Louis Varland be a closer guy, like throwing 100 miles an hour? Is Jeff Hoffman going to be an all-star? Is Mason Fluharty going to be good? There's a lot of questions. But then again, here's the caveat to that. Can you tell me about one bullpen in MLB that doesn't have question marks? Unless you have 10 Edwin Diaz's in your bullpen, you're going to have question marks because it's such a volatile position. An ER or a reliever can give up a home run and his ERA spikes by like 2 points
Yeah.
in one game. That's how volatile it is. So that's the problem. There's a lot of question marks, but then again, what bullpen doesn't have question marks? All bullpens have question marks. So given that's the state of all bullpens in MLB, then I definitely like where we're at. If there's already question marks everywhere else, then I think the guys that we've been put with, the guys that we have in our bullpen, I think definitely there's a good chance that they can pan out for sure.
Yeah, bullpens, as you said, are very hard to project. Like
Yeah.
you don't know if a team's gonna have the best bullpen in the league until
No.
the end of the season. Like you just don't know.
No.
So, like, could Spencer Miles make an impact as well? He's got like a wicked sinker, so
Yeah.
I think that could be very interesting. And yeah, so it's a good question. I think they've done a good job with the bullpen and don't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
And I think we are running a bit out of time here. We're on a bit of a time constraint. We got 6 minutes left, so we're not gonna do all the listener questions, which is pretty crazy. So
Yeah,
we gotta pick a few here.
we'll get to Tyler's friend's question here, Owen Dag, who says, "What do you grade the Jays offseason and what other moves could they make?" I think we've said for the other moves that they could make, I think we've said it's probably unlikely that they'll do anything. So in terms of a grade, what grade would you give them? I think I go like A minus, something like that, because you lost Bo, but you did bring in a lot of talent. I go like A minus, something like that.
I'm gonna be boring and do the same thing. A minus. You
Yeah.
lost Bo, you didn't get Tucker, but you got some great pieces. Cease, Ponce, Rogers, Okamoto, bunch of guys who will make an impact and make the team a lot better. And is this offseason fully done? Can we give it a final grade? No. So this is a bit of a temporary grade, but I'll go with A minus as well.
A minus is fair. We'll go to my guy, Aaron Britton here, my good friend, who says, does Ricky Tiedemann finally get the call? This is a good question. Right off the bat, I'm going, yes, he does get the call. Let's say end of August or something like that. He comes in. He's a hard throwing lefty out of the bullpen. I'll say yes.
And August. I feel like that's kind of
Or
late.
like July. I meant to say July, like trade deadline kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
If Ricky T can stay healthy, that's been a big problem with Jay's pitching prospects. Shout out Nate Pearson, who's definitely listening to this episode.
Yep.
But it's been a huge problem. But if Ricky T can stay healthy and produce in AAA and just be Ricky T, like just be yourself, because your stuff is nasty and it will play in MLB. So if you can be healthy, you might even be up by May or June. And given the status of the Blue Jays bullpen, if Fluharty goes down for a few months or
Yeah.
Little, same thing. Hope that doesn't happen, but if it does happen, I think Ricky T could come up quite early.
Yeah. So, Aaron, thank you for that question. We both
Yeah.
agree. We think he's going to get up and look out for him. For everyone
Oh
else
yeah.
listening, look out for him because I think he's going to be really good. It's time, man. He's 23 years old. Let's go. Now, one of the last ones here from my good buddy James Jandavs. Never forget Game 7. We were together there at Game 7. What a crazy game that was. He says, "What role does Jose Barrios play this season, and does he get moved?" This is a big one here. I feel like we could talk about this one for like an hour, but this is a crazy one. Do you think he gets moved?
I I saw reports of the Mets like wanting to take on a huge contract for just pitching, but I, I don't know how you move that contract. I really don't. You'd have to eat a lot of money. Is it worth it? Say Jose, I saw reports saying that Jose Barrios isn't playing in the WBC, so same as a bunch of other Puerto Rican players, but if you can be healthy and have a few more ticks on your fastball and your stuff is alive, like that's a lot. Like that's a good Jose Barrios. And Jose Barrios is a productive
Yeah.
player. But if you're like a guy who's a negative in the locker room and you're
Yeah.
just like you can't do anything on the field, I don't know if you can trade him. You might have to like DFA him.
Jeez. I mean, maybe because I think the rotation's clear at the top. Shane Bieber, Dylan Cease, Kevin Gausman, Trey Savage. That's clear. I think the only question mark here is Cody Ponce. If he's good as the five, I don't see a role for Jose Barrios. I don't think he wants to be. All right, pretty sure it's pretty. I can be confident saying that he does not want to be a long man out of the bullpen. We saw how that went last year. He didn't like that. That created some trouble in the locker room. So I think it'll be dependent on Cody Ponce. If we see he's good in spring training, he's good to start the year. Either you're trading Jose Barrios or you're cutting him and he's off the roster. So we'll see how that pans out. But we'll get to our last one here, which says, and we've talked about this earlier, can Kazuma Okamoto replace Bo Bichette's production? Pretty quick one here. Are we saying yes or no to this?
No, I think Bo Bichette is more like way more productive player than we may think. Like, oh, it's just Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette was a very good player for the Toronto Blue Jays for a very long time. Did a lot last year, even though he was hurt. Do I think he can play replace his production one for one? No. Just his base running
Yeah.
abilities, like his sprint speed. But no, I don't think he can do that. It's his first year coming from Japan, so who knows what he'll do. I think Okamoto could be a very good player for the Toronto Blue Jays, but not replace Bo Bichette's production one for one.
Because the big thing with Bo, it's the average, right? That's what you were going to get consistently every year, 300 average. Hey, Okamoto was hitting like 290, I think, in his career over the last 7, 8 years. The average is there. It's just, again, is it going to translate in MLB? That's the big question. There seems like there's a lot of questions, unfortunately, with this Jays team. But again, there's questions with every team. So
Yeah,
that's the big thing with Okamoto is will it translate to MLB? Personally, I think yes. I'll take it if it's like an 800 OPS, maybe it's 25 home runs, and it's like a 275 average. That's pretty
that
close
would
to
be
Bo Bichette,
great.
honestly.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, and that's pretty close to Bo Bichette, honestly. So there's some big shoes to fill there, obviously. Bo was a big contributor in the lineup, so we'll see how that pans out. That's going to do it for all the questions that we had for this episode. Thank you to everyone who gave us some questions, gave us something to talk about, because again, we're in a dry spell here, end of January. February's around the corner. Spring training is around the corner. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment your thoughts down below in the Jays offseason, and thank you for tuning in.
Go Jays.
Go Jays.